The WNBA is facing a crisis like never before. With Caitlin Clark's elimination from the playoffs, something shocking has happened. Viewership has dropped by over 50%. What's going on? Clark's exit isn't just about one player leaving the court, it's about the massive impact she had on the entire league.
Let's just say the ratings aren't the same with Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever now eliminated. Game 1 of the Aces Liberty matchup on Sunday drew an average of 929,000 viewers. It was down nearly 50% from last Sunday's Fever Sun contest. By the way, not only was viewership down.
In today's video, we're diving deep into how the WNBA's playoff ratings have taken a nosedive, why the league is struggling to keep fans engaged, and what this means for its future. Is this just a temporary setback, or has Caitlin Clark's departure exposed a much larger problem? Let's break down the numbers and discuss the ripple effect Clark had on the WNBA's popularity. More importantly, we'll explore the league's future and whether it can survive without its biggest star. Stick around until the end to learn what the WNBA must do to avoid losing the momentum Clark helped build and what her next moves could mean for the league. Caitlin Clark, the WNBA's golden ticket. Let's talk about Caitlin Clark, the golden child of women's basketball. She burst onto the scene in her rookie season, immediately becoming one of the most talked about players in the sport. And it wasn't just hype. She was pulling in record numbers. Her games brought in a staggering 1.8 million viewers, even on an NFL Sunday, which is unheard of for the WNBA.
2023 season, the WNBA had grown by 40% viewership from 2022 to 2023. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, it's grown by 400% viewership. What that means is if the WNBA were continue to grow at the rate it grew from 22 to 23, it would take until 2028 to do what Caitlin Clark did.
Now, to put that in perspective, 1 week later, A'ja Wilson, one of the league's established stars and a two-time MVP, only drew in around 900,000 viewers. That's nearly half the audience, and that was during the playoffs. You might wonder, what made Caitlin Clark so special? It's more than just her scoring ability or her flair on the court. Caitlin Clark represented something new, something fresh. She captured the attention of casual fans who had never watched a WNBA game before. People weren't just watching basketball, they were tuning in to watch her. Her charisma, her confidence, and her style of play made her a magnet for attention. Clark's rookie season wasn't just another year for the WNBA, it was a turning point. She drove viewership up by 400% in 2023 alone, and the league was thriving with her at the center of it. This isn't just about basketball, it's about star power, and Caitlin Clark had it in spades. For the first time in years, the WNBA had a player who was bringing in a new audience, an audience that was excited, invested, and ready to follow her journey. But then everything changed when she was eliminated from the playoffs, and the WNBA has been struggling ever since. The post-Clark collapse, why fans are tuning out. Caitlin Clark's playoff exit didn't just knock her team out of contention, it took a major chunk of the WNBA's audience with her. Since her elimination, ratings have plummeted by more than half. So, what's going on here? You'd expect that as playoffs progress, more people would be tuning in, right? That's what happens in almost every major sports league. As the stakes get higher, so does the audience. But in the WNBA, the opposite has happened. Fans are losing interest as the finals approach. This isn't just unusual, it's almost unheard of in professional sports. One theory? It's the Caitlin Clark effect in reverse. When she's not on the court, people just don't feel as connected. Clark brought in viewers who were there to see her, not necessarily the WNBA as a whole. Without her, the league is struggling to retain those casual viewers. This raises a bigger issue for the WNBA. How can a league grow and thrive if it's so heavily dependent on one player? Look at the numbers. After Clark's exit, the playoff games saw less than half the viewership. It's almost as if fans were saying, if Caitlin's not playing, we're not watching. This isn't a knock on players like A'ja Wilson, who by all accounts had a phenomenal season, but even Wilson herself expressed frustration. She's quoted as saying, "This year, more than ever, I've heard people call my game boring," and I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. Clearly, she's noticing the shift in attention too. But this goes beyond individual players. The WNBA's audience base has been fragile for years, and Caitlin Clark's star power gave it a temporary boost. Now that she's out, the cracks are starting to show again. Fans are losing interest, and the playoffs, which should be the most exciting part of the season, are becoming an afterthought. In sports, star power drives engagement. The NBA had Michael Jordan, the NFL has Tom Brady, and now the WNBA had Caitlin Clark. But what happens when that star is no longer on the court? The league is learning the hard way that it can't rely on just one player to carry the weight of its popularity. The Caitlin Clark effect was real, but now that she's gone, the WNBA is scrambling to figure out how to keep the momentum going. Keep the Caitlin Clark effect, how one player changed everything. Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA cannot be overstated. For a league that has struggled to capture mainstream attention, Clark came in like a breath of fresh air and changed everything. Just like how Michael Jordan once revolutionized the NBA, or how Steph Curry transformed the way basketball is played, Caitlin Clark brought something different to the WNBA. Her court vision, her three-point shooting, her confidence, it made her a star that people couldn't ignore. More importantly, she was someone new fans could rally around. Before Caitlin Clark, the WNBA had seen steady but modest growth. From 2022 to 2023, viewership increased by about 40%. Good, but not groundbreaking. Then Caitlin Clark arrives, and suddenly that growth skyrockets by 400%. That kind of increase is unprecedented. It wasn't just hardcore WNBA fans tuning in. Clark was attracting casual viewers and sports fans who had never paid attention to women's basketball before. Her presence wasn't just a benefit to her own team, it lifted the entire league. The WNBA needed a superstar to draw attention, and Clark filled that role perfectly. But as we're seeing now, the league may have leaned too heavily on her. Without her, the buzz surrounding the WNBA playoffs has died down considerably. This is the danger of relying too much on one player to carry a league. When they're gone, so is the excitement. The WNBA's bigger problem failing to protect its star. One of the most frustrating aspects of Caitlin Clark's playoff exit was how it happened. Throughout the season, Clark was constantly fouled and subjected to rough play, but the referees failed to protect her. This is a huge issue for the WNBA. When the league's biggest star is being physically worn down and fouled without consequence, it reflects poorly on the league's ability to protect its most valuable players. And it wasn't just a few missed calls here and there. This was a consistent pattern throughout the season. Clark's elimination wasn't just a blow to her team, it was a blow to the WNBA as a whole. Fans watching at home couldn't help but feel frustrated as Clark was knocked around game after game with little to no intervention from the officials.
Very few people, but there are some out there who resent the fact that this young white girl came out there and did her thing. Rookie of the Year, 4th in the league for MVP voting, assist leader, one of the top leading scorers after the Olympic Games. She put on a show, validating all the attention she was receiving.
Other leagues like the NBA have learned that protecting their stars is crucial for keeping fans engaged. LeBron James, Stephen Curry, they're given a level of protection because the league understands that these players drive viewership. The WNBA, on the other hand, has allowed rough play to take its toll on Caitlin Clark, and now they're paying the price. This isn't just about fairness on the court. It's about the league recognizing that Caitlin Clark isn't just another player. She's the key to the WNBA's future success. If they continue to fail to protect their stars, they'll struggle to keep fans engaged. What's next for Caitlin Clark? EuroLeague temptations. Now let's talk about something that's been on a lot of people's minds. What's next for Caitlin Clark? Could we see her take her talents overseas? Rumors are swirling that European basketball teams are eyeing Caitlin Clark for a potential move to the EuroLeague, where salaries are significantly higher. And who could blame her for considering it? Even Ice Cube was willing to offer Clark $5 million to play less than 10 games in the Big Three. That's more than most WNBA players make in an entire season. The reality is the WNBA doesn't pay its players nearly as much as some international leagues do. And for someone like Clark, who's not only a star but a cultural icon, the temptation to explore those options must be strong. European teams are known for offering players better pay, more respect, and often better treatment. How the WNBA can keep Caitlin Clark. So, how can the WNBA ensure that Caitlin Clark sticks around for the long haul? The league is at a pivotal moment, and keeping Clark should be priority number one. First, they need to address the issue of player safety. Throughout the season, Clark was subjected to aggressive defenses that wore her down physically. If the WNBA wants to keep its stars on the court and keep fans engaged, they need to tighten up officiating and make sure that players like Clark aren't unfairly targeted. Second, the WNBA has to improve player compensation. Right now, the salaries in the WNBA are nowhere near what top-tier players could earn overseas or even in smaller leagues like the Big Three. For Caitlin Clark, this is a real concern. She could easily make 10 times what she's earning in the WNBA if she decided to go to Europe. If the league wants to avoid losing her, they need to find ways to offer more competitive pay. But it's not just about the money. The WNBA also needs to focus on expanding its talent pool. Right now, the league is too dependent on players like Clark to drive viewership. If they can build up more stars, create more compelling storylines, and give fans reasons to tune in beyond just one player, they'll be in a much stronger position moving forward. The WNBA now faces a critical decision. Will they make the necessary changes to protect their stars, improve player compensation, and build a broader base of talent, or will they let Caitlin Clark slip away along with the fans she brought to the league? Let us know what you think in the comments. Will Caitlin Clark stay in the WNBA, or could we see her making the jump to Europe? Be sure to like this video and subscribe for more in-depth sports analysis. And if you want more coverage of the WNBA and the latest basketball news, check out our other videos on screen now. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.